Hi, I'm Jesse Bear. I'm a songwriter, producer, and audio enthusiast, and we're here at VEILSOUND Studios checking out the newest plugin from UA, the Capitol Mastering Compressor. It's based on a compressor that's from the Capitol Mastering facilities in Hollywood. It was built by Ian Sefcik in 2011. So even though it looks vintage, it's actually not as vintage as it looks. Even though you look at the website and it sort of says that you've got Verve and Motown tunes. This compressor was never in the room with Nat King Cole. It was much more likely to be in the room with Miley Cyrus and Carly Rae Jepsen, Black Sabbath apparently, and a few others. So while it's not vintage gear, it is still analog, and they've done a really great job of modeling it after that CM5511. When we open it up, you can have a look here, and this top section here is reflective of what you got on the original hardware. And then this section down here, the bottom, is some new mod cons that they've introduced. And then I guess it's worth noting here that Capitol actually shut down their mastering facilities in 2021. So this is about the only way that we can capture the sound of that particular piece of hardware. Visually, it's pretty cool. It gives you these bakelite type knobs and then these old school VU monitors. When you put the power on here, you can almost smell the ozone. The VST runs on both Mac and PC. And unlike UAD plugins back in the day, this one doesn't require any proprietary UA hardware. Yeah, so let's have a look at the basic controls here. To start with, it's more or less the same as any other kind of compressor. I'm sure you're familiar with it, the input gain here. One thing that you can notice is that the dial is stepped rather than fully slidable, and that reflects how it was on the original hardware. I think the reason for that is so they can recall it quickly, and you can just note down your settings, and then you get uniformity across the album or even across different mastering suites. Probably less important in a plugin, but I kind of like that it stops you from stressing over 0.1% of a change. Then you've got your timing settings here, attack and release. You've got slow, medium, fast, and fast. So it's kind of like a steak, I guess. The output dial here is actually attenuation only. So you can only go down in volume. And then you've got your makeup down here if you need to use that. So in addition to the basic controls that you have here, you've also got a few tiny little things that you should probably take note of. A couple of reviewers have missed them, but they're very important. This one here, the ratio, this gives you an option of 2:1, 3:1, 4:1, if you go into the middle, 6:1, and then eventually up to 10:1. The original hardware was actually fixed at 4:1. There was only, I think, one of the compressors that they modded to be variable. So the default is sort of 4:1. This is also pretty important. This is a sidechain switch, even though probably modern producers and in particular EDM producers would be thinking about sidechaining in terms of coming from one signal to another, like ducking from the kick or something like that. This sidechain refers to just the portion of the audio that's being used to trigger the compressor. And this essentially is a sidechain filter. So this you can dial down. It's not super intuitive, but if you switch it all the way to the right, it's off. In the middle setting, the roll-off is at 360 Hertz, and then at far left, it's at 700. I think at this stage we can probably get some audio going, and then we can talk through the rest of the controls as we have a bit of a play. I've pulled up a track here that I've worked on with a Singaporean artist named Drew Chen. It's a song called Giving It Up, and a great mix by Ben Lam. Let's have a quick listen to the raw material, and then I'll switch it on and off. You can see the lights will be on when it's working, and the lights will be off. These lights look pretty great. All right, have a listen.
Honest, down home mama, I really wanna freak you right. Promise, if you wanna, I can take you there tonight. So let's glide to the dance floor, honey. Say who can win this race tonight? And let's hide in our own.
Yeah, so those are fairly gentle settings, but they seem to be doing quite a bit. Because it's a mastering compressor, it's not working super hard, it's not giving you that kind of pumping sound that you normally get. It's just designed to overlay on top of the mix and basically glue it a bit together and hopefully give you some warmth and breadth as well, which is definitely what's happening here, to my ears at least. A lot of that's coming here from this saturator. So down here, the newer controls, we've got wet dry signal, the mix here. headroom in case you need to adjust to bring it into a nice manageable range for your inputs here. Monofold is a little bit of an interesting thing to include on a compressor. Essentially, that's a spatial effect which will grab your bass frequencies and pull them into the center to add to sort of punch. Let's have a listen and see if we can actually hear what that's doing.
Honest, down home mama, I really wanna freak you right.
I guess have a listen to the kick if you can.
If you wanna, I can take you there tonight. So let's glide.
Not sure if you heard that, but to me it sounded like the kick was sort of becoming a little bit punchier and a little bit more present once you sort of bring that monofold up and the kick is drawn into the center of your stereo spread. The makeup gain here is self-explanatory, but a lot of the characteristics that we're getting from this plugin is coming here from this saturator. So I'll pull that on and off and you can hear just the compressor and then the compressor with the saturator. Let's have a listen.
Honest, down home mama, I really wanna freak you right. Promise, if you wanna, I can take you there tonight. So let's glide to the dance floor, honey. Say who can win this race tonight? And let's hide in our own world, sugar.
So that's sort of adding some harmonics and it sort of sounds like it's effectively giving you some more drive and some warmth. Personally, I don't mind a bit of distortion if it's doing that as well. Anything to sort of spice it up and make it sound a little bit dangerous. But these kinds of settings I think work for a track like this. One cool thing about this track is that it's actually featuring a keyboard solo from one Dr. Fink, who was Prince's keyboardist. He played on all the Purple Rain album and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's have a quick listen to his solo on this and see what the compressor does to it. Pretty cool. Let's check out another track. This one is by a local Melbourne artist named Life is Better Blonde, and this is his new track, Vertigo. It's not out yet, so a little bit of a sneak peek. I think it might be a good time to sort of talk about the mid-side setting here. I think maybe some tracks might lend themselves to a mid-side approach, especially if you want to pay close attention to the spatial element of them. This is a track like that where we might want to feel like it's sort of in a big hall or a big room or something like that. I'll play a little bit and we can switch it on and off and see what you think. Yeah, so it's giving it a bit of sparkle, a bit of room, a bit of space, and making it a little bit more interesting and a little bit more present at the same time. Of course, here we're switched to dual mono so that the mid doesn't affect the side and vice versa. Inputs are pretty gentle, thresholds also pretty gentle, and we've got the ratio set here at the default 4:1. A lot of the special sauce is actually coming from this saturator. Again, we'll sort of pull that in and out and see if you can hear what that's doing. You got to ride it and make sure that it's not sort of distorting too much or getting too crunchy, but a little bit is nice. I'll make my home behind my shaded eyes. The world invites, and I declare. Another thing that's pretty cool down here is this monitor here that gives you the option to see what's happening on the way out. And I like that you have the option to switch it to LUFS. Kind of gives me a quick reference to make sure that I'm not getting too far away from where I need to be on the way out. We'll move forward a little bit in the track and go to the section where it's a little bit more built and a little bit more aggressive and see what it's doing there. So we were clipping a little bit there. You've got to really keep an eye on this makeup gain. And bearing in mind that the saturator actually comes after the makeup gain, which is a little bit interesting. So if you bring this up and increase what effectively sort of amounts to a bit of drive, you've got to really pull this down beforehand, or keep an eye on your meters. A little bit of distortion isn't too bad. I don't mind it, even digital clipping. I'll let the track play out and then we can move on to something else. So yeah, you can massage your settings a little bit, but I think that does something to it. You can tell me in the comments. All right, so let's have a look at one last track. And this one is a track that I worked on for a Canadian artist named Tanika Charles. She's got a little bit of a throwback kind of retro sound, and I thought that might be a good opportunity to use this plugin, given that this, I think, was largely used to remaster all of the old Verve and Motown stuff. I think with tracks like that, you can afford to be a little bit more aggressive with the settings. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit distorted. It doesn't matter even if it's a little bit more mono, because that's kind of what that sound was. I'll let the track play a little bit without the plugin, and then we'll throw it on and see what's happening.
She's making all the moves I wish they were mine. She's getting all the looks I've always used.
So right away, you're getting a little bit of warmth. You can feel it's a little bit heavier and a little bit grittier. Still got a fairly gentle setting on the ratio switch here. This is only at 3:1. So maybe we can bring that up a little bit. I think what's happening with the ratio is that it's also adjusting the knee from soft to hard. See if maybe you can hear that happening in the track as we go.
Between the gin and the wine. So baby, tell me, have I missed my only chance? What if I stay here till they call the last dance? Yeah. Well, maybe I'm just wasting my time. They ask me, baby, tell.
I'm such a more is more guy that I just want to push it and push it and push it. Let's push it a little bit further. I don't mind if it's crunchy.
Am I fine? No need to worry about me. She's making all the moves I wish they were mine. She's getting all the looks I've always desired. So I feels like I'm drowning, but you've got me tongue-tied. Somewhere between the gin and the. She's making all the moves I wish they were mine. And she's getting all the looks I've always desired. So I lose it.
Yeah, so I think that it does a good job of making it sound a bit broader, warmer, richer, denser. All these things are good. Anything that brings it back into that sort of analog kind of warmth, especially with this kind of music, I think this plugin works really well. I will say that, though, because it's such an advanced utility, there are so many different options that you have in terms of changing the sound, whether you're in mid-side mode, whether you're in stereo mode. You've got the ratios, you've got the sidechain filter, and then of course this saturator. That the presets might be a good place to start, but you're really going to have to learn how to massage all of the little different settings there to capitalize on what this is able to do. I think that about covers it today for the Capitol Mastering Compressor. It's obviously doing what it's supposed to do, which is give the final master a bit of a glue. It's also giving a little bit of extra warmth and a bit of grit. And I think it does a pretty good job of that. It may not suit everybody, it may not suit every genre, but particularly I think if you're working with organic analog kind of sounds, it's a great one to have. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll catch you next time.